Hey guys, how's it going today? Today we're going to be working on the DJM drop kit on my truck. Hoping to get it done. The weather is a little iffy right now. It's been sort of raining on and off, so we do have a covered space to do it, and we're going to hope we can get it knocked out without too much problems. And we'll go from there, and I'll keep y'all updated and get some footage going.
Quick view up underneath the truck. Of course I forgot the key to my toolbox, so trying to do it with this jack. I have a real nice floor jack. It's locked up in my toolbox and I actually live 30 minutes from here. So we're kind of trying to make things work. Gonna see if I can find another block or something to pick it up. Here's another shot real quick of the stock suspension and the way that it's bolted underneath. The other side. So this is what we're working with. We're not getting very far yet, but we're going to try to get it knocked out.
Alright guys, here we got a quick look. We got the passenger side leaf springs pulled, and we're working on getting the driver's side leaf springs pulled, and this is just the basic disassembly part of it. And in the next part you'll see actually how it goes back together. Here's just kind of a comparison between the stock and the new flipped leaf spring. Kind of hard to see. Sorry if the camera's a little shaky. This is new dropped. See the leaf spring underneath the axle now with the flip kit. We're gonna do that side next. You're just getting this all buttoned up. Got the extended new shackle holding that on. Got an axle locator, new U-bolt plate to hold the shackles underneath. We're gonna go get the other side dropped, and then we're gonna switch out the shocks. Got brand new drop shocks to go on it. We'll get all that tied in. It's pretty easy to take this apart, and then go ahead and get that put together, and we'll go from there. Here we go. We have a better view of the way that the drop suspension is on the passenger side compared to the stock. The way the leaves are set up on the right side, you can see how the new axle locator bracket goes on top of the leaf springs and they go underneath the axle now. And then you can see how the new U-bolt plate holds the springs up against the axle, which drops the suspension in comparison to the stock side. Got a quick shot right here real quick of how the leaf springs look completely flipped underneath the axle with both sides finished, to give you a good idea of the way it should look if you're trying to do this yourself, and you can get a good perspective on how it's actually supposed to sit. Just about got everything all buttoned up with the leaf packs. Just got the front hooked up. If you can see way up there, it's kind of hard to tell. Don't want to move too much. You see how the new axle locators are on there and the new plates and everything. Just about done with flipping the rear. Everything is pretty much hooked up. We're about to sit here and take off the shocks. You can see the shocks are all crap. Got new lowering shocks to put on. We're going to put them on, and then we should be just about ready to drop the rear on the ground and then get ready to go start messing with the front. Here's a little bit better close-up view on the way that the axle locators are on the leaf springs, and a quick look at how the new drop shocks look installed on the truck. Hopefully it gives you a good idea of how the way everything's supposed to be, and it should give you a good perspective on it. And that's the way it looks, and sorry for the shakiness in the camera. It's kind of hard to get good angles laying underneath the truck and stabilizing the camera at the same time to show the angles.
Here's a quick shot of the stock suspension setup before we go ahead and install the drop springs and new shocks and everything and start disassembling the front suspension, so you know how it looks to start out with.
Alright, this is where we're at. Just working on getting the upper ball joint removed. Gonna have to replace the bolts up here with the camber bolts to adjust the alignment once the drop's on. Got the upper ball joint removed so we can pull this down. Went ahead and took the brake caliper off so we got more clearance. That way we can take this down and we can pull the springs out. Just gotta get the upper ball joint removed so we can go ahead and switch out these bolts on there. Already got the shocks pulled out of the coil springs and went ahead and took this bar, this one right here, is actually the sway bar loose, so that it allows this to drop down as well. So this is what we're looking at. We're trying to get it all apart, and then we'll do the reverse. We got new coils to go in, you got drop shocks, and then the new camber bolts, and that's about all we're going to be replacing up front. We'll get that all buttoned up, and then I'll show you a picture after that.
Pretty straightforward, but basically this is what it looks like now that we got the stock spring out and we're ready to put the drop springs in. Alright, here's how the drop springs look installed. Just got to put the shocks back in and button everything else back up real quick. Here you can see the camber alignment bolts, so that whenever you go and take the vehicle to get it aligned with the new drop, it'll actually make sure that the suspension can be straightened out the way it needs to be. The stock bolts won't actually accomplish that into the upper control arms here. And then there's a quick view of how the drop springs and drop shocks look, and everything else just goes back exactly the way it came apart, and it's pretty straightforward, but this is how it looks with the drop suspension, and that's about all we're doing.
Alright guys, here's a good shot of how the truck looks all finished and actually washed now. Shows how it's sitting. It's still sitting a little bit lower in the back than it is in the front. Nothing I'm too worried about. I'm going to try to see if I can raise the back up maybe a little bit more, but for right now it's looking pretty good, and I think it's going to do what I want.